Leadership isn't loud. If you're an introvert and you want to become a better leader, this video is for you. You're going to get right into it. Let's go. If you're an introvert, you're going to have to lead by example, not by volume. And what I mean is, you're going to have to show up with intelligence. You're going to have to show up prepared. You're going to have to show up with your knowledge, because you may not have the most outgoing personality. You may not be the loudest person in the room, or you're not used to being the star of the show. So you're going to have to compensate in other areas. So being quiet, being low key can still be very effective if you want to be a leader. A lot of people think that just because you're loud and confident makes a person a good leader. I've seen lots of people who are loud, lots of people who are confident, lots of people who are very extra with how they carry themselves. And then when times get tough, they get exposed. You find out they don't know what they're doing. You find out they're struggling with solving problems. They're struggling with their business. They're struggling with their personal life. But they were so confident. They were so arrogant about how they carried themselves. You thought they all had it all figured out. So if you're an introvert and you're in a leadership position, or you want to be a leader, you have to just understand that your personality is a bonus. It's not something that you should try to switch up. They say, you can't change a player's game in the fourth quarter, right? If this is who you are, then be who you are. Just become a little bit more effective. You do this by thinking before you act. So if you're an introvert and you're a quiet person and you're low key, then be a thinker. Then be someone who can solve problems, who can show up, come up with solutions. And you don't have to do it in a very overt, loud way. You can just do it with your execution, and people will respect it, and people will trust you, and people will come back to you for your service or your product. Or when they're looking for a promotion at a job, it's not always the funny guy who gets the promotion. It's the best person who gets the promotion, the person who's the most reliable, the person who handles shit, the person who gets things done. That's who companies look for. That's who businesses need. So do not look at being an introvert as a negative. Look at the positives. I believe that you can use your introverted personality when things get tough, and you can sit back and reflect, right? Instead of announcing your next move, instead of announcing your strategy, you can just be low key with it. You can just take your time and come up with the best move forward. A lot of people who are extroverted just want to talk the talk. They just want to tell you they got it all figured out. They want to demonstrate with all these actions. And sometimes those actions do not give you the results that you're looking for, but they presented it very well. So if you want to build more confidence, you want to build more respect, you want to build a better reputation as an introvert, you're going to have to do it with your actions. You're going to have to do it with your results. You're going to have to figure out a way to use your personality to best fit the company or job or business that you're in to be successful, right? A lot of people are going to want to chase a spotlight. I've noticed this the older and older I get. So especially in social media and the entertainment world, a lot of people want to be the star of the show. They want to be the next Beyonce. They want to be the next Taylor Swift. They want to be the next Jay-Z. They want the spotlight. But they often don't realize there's a whole team of people behind the scenes who make that star or artist or entrepreneur very successful. And it's not always the people who get the recognition, and that's fine. Everybody doesn't need to get a participation trophy. But everybody doesn't also need the spotlight. You have to figure out where you fit in the puzzle of success. I personally would rather have the respect and a great reputation than just a spotlight. Because I'll give you an example. When I was younger, right, in my early 20s, there was the whole boy band phase. And it was NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and all these other groups and stuff, right? And not to take away from any of their accomplishments, because they made a bunch of money, became famous, or celebrities, but they were very interchangeable because they were just the people on the spotlight. They didn't often write the songs. They didn't often write the records. They weren't often in control of the next project or the next contract. They were just the people on the front, the people who danced and did their interviews, and some of them went on to have great careers like Justin Timberlake, but some of those guys just completely fell off the map. You haven't heard from them since, so they're doing some corny reality show, 15, 20 years later. Because they were in the spotlight, but they weren't behind the scenes making the real decisions. They weren't behind the scenes mixing down the songs, editing the videos. They weren't learning the skills to actually become a better artist over a long period of time. And I see this with hip hop too, right? A guy can rap, he can, we're the jury, he can talk that shit, but he can't make a beat, can't mix it down. Struggle with content when the record goes cold. And now what? Now they're doing these extra stuff to get attention. They're saying crazy things in interviews to get a little bit more attention back on them. They're chasing the spotlight again instead of actually doing the work. And as an introvert, you can always do more work. You can just become more successful, and you become more of an asset, because that person isn't worried about you stealing the spotlight. They're not worried about you taking their spot. You're just doing your job. And as an introvert, I always say this: always give credit to the team. I always look at life sometimes as a sport, and success is a team sport. Anyone who's successful has had people give them advice, maybe give them money, give them opportunities. So always give credit to the people who came before you. And you can do that as an introvert. And I'm not saying that extroverts don't do that, but as an introvert, you can always pass the praise down the line. It doesn't have to be about you. It doesn't have to be about your personality or what you bring to the table, as long as you're getting the job done. That's what makes you special. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you useful. And other people will want to work with you. People want to buy your products. People want to buy your services. So leadership is not always going to be loud and flashy. Sometimes it's just about who gets the job done. And if you're an introvert and you're watching this video, just figure out who you want to be and how to get the job done, to do it to the best of your abilities. You don't got to switch up for nobody. You don't got to change for nobody. Just be who you are. Be proud of who you are. Go after it and go make it happen. All right? This is the message for your day. I'm your guy, L Train, Creative Mindset channel. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. Subscribe to the vibe. Stay creative. Stay dangerous. Peace. I'm out.